Okay, so today we're digging deep into geothermal engineering,
Mm.
and we've got some really fascinating resources from RoleCatcher.com to guide us.
Okay.
We've got like their complete career guide for a geothermal engineer,
Right.
and then a couple of articles about how their platform can actually like help you prepare for interviews and
Definitely.
navigate the job market, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I think what I find so fascinating about this whole field is that we're talking about like harnessing the Earth's heat. It's
Yeah.
like it's not as simple as just slapping some solar panels on a roof.
No, it really is incredible when you think about it.
Wow.
Geothermal engineering is about accessing this really powerful and sustainable energy source.
Yeah.
It's literally right beneath our feet.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's so much more complex than just setting up some panels.
Right.
We're talking about accessing and utilizing the Earth's internal heat,
Okay.
whether it's for generating electricity or, like you said, even heating and cooling buildings.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised to learn from the career guide that
Mm.
geothermal energy has applications, beyond just these massive power plants.
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal with these geothermal heat pumps?
Okay.
How do they even provide climate control?
So imagine this, a system that harnesses the relatively stable temperatures underground
Okay.
to heat your home in the winter and cool it in the summer.
Wow.
That's what these heat pumps do.
Okay.
They use a network of pipes buried underground
Uh-huh.
to kind of exchange heat with the earth,
Interesting.
providing this energy efficient and environmentally friendly climate control.
So instead of like solely relying on burning fossil fuels or even those traditional air source heat pumps, that we can actually pull from the Earth's like natural temperature.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
it is pretty amazing.
But this career guide goes in depth on like the daily work of a geothermal engineer,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't believe all the stuff that these folks actually do.
Well, tell me what stood out to you.
The sheer variety. Like, I mean, I knew they were involved in designing power plants and things like that.
Right.
But this guide mentions resource assessments.
Yeah.
What does that even mean for a geothermal engineer?
So it's like being an energy detective.
Okay.
Before any project can even begin, these engineers are tasked with finding these geothermal hotspots.
Interesting.
They use a variety of techniques like geological surveys, thermal imaging, and even drilling these exploratory wells to identify
Wow.
areas with the greatest potential for harnessing geothermal energy.
So it's really about understanding the Earth's subsurface.
Yeah,
And then pinpointing the best locations for these projects.
exactly.
And I imagine that plays a huge role in those like feasibility studies
Absolutely.
mentioned in the guide.
Once those promising geothermal resources are identified,
Okay.
feasibility studies kind of determine the viability of a project.
Mm-hmm.
These studies take into account factors like the size and temperature of the resource, the geological conditions, environmental impact, and, of course,
Yeah.
the economic feasibility of the entire endeavor.
It sounds like such a delicate balancing act,
It is.
weighing the potential of a site against like these practical realities.
Yeah.
No wonder the career guide highlights problem solving as like a key skill
Right.
for these engineers.
It's essential.
But once those hurdles are cleared, it sounds like things get really interesting.
Yeah.
They're involved in designing not just the power plants,
Mhm.
but entire geothermal heating and cooling systems.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Wow.
And it's not just about the functionality.
Okay.
These engineers are also deeply concerned about the environmental impact of their work.
Yeah.
The guide touches on how they design systems to minimize their footprint,
Okay.
ensuring that geothermal energy remains sustainable for the long haul.
It's that commitment to both like innovation and sustainability
Yeah.
that makes this field so compelling.
Absolutely.
But let's be real, no career path is without its challenges.
That's true.
The RoleCatcher guide doesn't shy away from that.
Right.
And it dedicates a whole section to the pros and cons
Yeah.
of a career in geothermal engineering.
Right. It's crucial to have a balanced perspective.
Yeah.
And I think the guide does a good job of highlighting both the exciting opportunities and the potential drawbacks of
Yeah.
this career path.
Let's start with the positives.
All right.
The guide mentions this high demand for skilled geothermal engineers,
Yeah.
always a good sign for job security.
Absolutely.
And often that translates into attractive salaries.
Of course.
Which is
Yeah.
never a bad thing.
Never a bad thing.
But beyond just like the financial incentives, this field offers something truly unique.
Okay.
It's the chance to work with a sustainable energy source
Yeah.
that has the potential to make a real difference
Right.
in the fight against climate change.
It's a big deal.
That sense of purpose, of contributing to a more sustainable future, is a major draw for many entering this field.
Absolutely.
The guide also mentions the sheer variety of jobs within geothermal engineering.
It's not just one thing.
That's not just stuck in an office or a lab all day.
Right.
You could be on a drilling rig one day.
Wow.
And then presenting research findings at a conference the next.
It's true. This field offers such a dynamic range of experiences.
Yeah.
Which is a huge plus for those who thrive in ever-changing environments.
Right.
You could specialize in resource exploration,
Okay.
power plant design, system optimization, research and development, or even policy advocacy.
Wow.
The options are remarkably diverse.
But, like you said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
The guide also lists some pretty significant downsides.
Okay.
For example, it mentions the limited availability of geothermal resources.
That's a big one.
What did they mean by that?
So while geothermal energy is technically accessible almost anywhere, the reality is that certain locations are just more favorable for those large-scale geothermal projects. We need those areas with high heat flow close to the Earth's surface to make it economically viable.
That makes sense.
Think about places like Iceland or volcanic regions. They have a natural advantage when it comes to harnessing geothermal energy.
So, while the Earth's heat is available everywhere, we're kind of limited by where it's most accessible and cost-effective to tap into it.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yep.
And speaking of cost, the guide also points out the high upfront expenses associated with geothermal projects.
Exactly. Those initial costs can be a significant barrier, especially when compared to more conventional energy sources.
Right.
We're talking about drilling these deep wells, often several kilometers into the Earth, which requires specialized equipment and expertise.
It's fascinating, really. We're talking about harnessing this incredible natural resource, but doing so in a way that's both like economically viable and environmentally responsible.
It's a challenge.
And that brings us to another con listed in the guide, the potential environmental impacts. It's easy to assume that geothermal is like completely clean, but the guide suggests otherwise.
It's true that geothermal energy is often touted as this clean and sustainable alternative to fossil fuels, and for good reason. It produces significantly fewer greenhouse gas emissions. However, it's essential to acknowledge that it's not entirely impact-free.
So what kind of environmental concerns are we talking about?
Well, one consideration is the potential release of greenhouse gases, like carbon dioxide and methane, which can be trapped in these underground reservoirs. While these emissions are typically much lower than those from fossil fuel power plants, they still need to be carefully managed and mitigated.
So it's about minimizing the impact, even if it can't be like eliminated entirely. What other environmental factors come into play?
Water usage is another important consideration. Geothermal power plants require substantial amounts of water for cooling and other processes. In regions with limited water resources, this can potentially lead to water stress or conflicts with other water users.
That makes sense.
Then there's the risk of induced seismicity or earthquakes triggered by human activity. While it's generally considered to be a relatively low-risk activity in terms of like inducing these seismic events, it's still a factor that needs careful monitoring and management, especially in areas that are already prone to earthquakes.
It's a great example of how even a renewable energy source like geothermal requires like this nuanced approach. We need to consider like the full picture, both benefits and then these potential downsides.
Absolutely.
And that brings me to something else that kind of struck me in the RoleCatcher guide. The skill set required for this field is no walk in the park.
It's challenging.
They mention this strong foundation in STEM fields, like mechanical engineering, physics, chemistry. Clearly, a love for science and math is non-negotiable.
Absolutely. You're dealing with complex systems, intricate geological formations. You know, the very forces that shape our planet. A solid grasp of these core scientific principles is essential for understanding how to harness geothermal energy effectively and safely.
But it's not all about technical expertise, is it?
No, it's not.
The guide also highlights the importance of soft skills for geothermal engineers. What role do those skills play in such a technical field?
It's a crucial point. and often overlooked.
Okay.
Geothermal projects are rarely solo endeavors.
Right.
You're working as part of a team collaborating with other engineers.
Okay.
Geologists, environmental scientists, policymakers,
wow,
and even local communities.
So communication must be key.
Communication is key.
These aren't just folks sitting in labs crunching numbers.
Exactly, being able to clearly articulate complex technical information to a non-technical audience.
Yeah.
Navigate those interpersonal dynamics and work effectively within a team.
Right.
These skills are just as vital as your technical know-how.
Okay.
When it comes to like successfully bringing a geothermal project to fruition.
The guide goes beyond just listing skills and actually maps out a potential career path for a geothermal engineer.
Right.
It's fascinating to see the progression from entry-level roles to more senior positions.
Yeah.
You start as an entry-level geothermal engineer, providing support on research, data analysis, and basic design tasks.
Got it.
Then you move up to a junior geothermal engineer, where you're conducting those independent resource assessments and feasibility studies we talked about earlier.
It's a natural progression.
Yeah.
You start by learning the ropes, gaining hands-on experience, and gradually taking on more responsibility. As a junior geothermal engineer, you're putting those theoretical skills into practice, making real-world decisions that can impact the direction of a project.
And then things get really interesting when you reach like the geothermal engineer level. You're not just working on like individual tasks anymore.
Right.
You're overseeing entire project life cycles, managing budgets.
Wow.
Ensuring environmental compliance and leading teams.
It's a testament to the breadth of knowledge and experience required to excel in this field.
Yeah.
You need a deep understanding of geothermal principles, engineering design, project management, and even like policy and regulatory frameworks.
And finally, the guide highlights the senior geothermal engineer role. This is where you become a true leader in the field, developing strategic plans for large-scale projects, mentoring junior engineers, and potentially even influencing policy decisions at a national or international level.
It's a path that requires not just technical expertise, but also vision, leadership qualities, and a deep commitment to advancing the field of geothermal energy.
It's incredible to think about the impact a senior geothermal engineer could have, potentially shaping the future of energy production and contributing to a more sustainable world.
Absolutely.
But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about how someone actually breaks into this field.
Sure.
The other RoleCatcher articles we have focus on the job market and how their platform uses AI to help you land that dream job. To be honest, the whole AI thing sounded a bit intimidating at first.
I understand your hesitation.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to approach this new technology with a sense of curiosity rather than fear. Think of it as like having this powerful tool at your disposal, something that can help you navigate the complexities of the modern job market more effectively.
So instead of just like blasting out generic resumes, RoleCatcher's AI helps you tailor your application to the specific requirements of each job. How does that actually work?
It's all about going beyond simple keyword matching. RoleCatcher's AI delves deeper, analyzing both your skills and experience and the nuances of each job description. It identifies those subtle but crucial connections that might be missed by a human eye.
So it's like having an AI assistant who can highlight the most relevant aspects of your profile for a particular job. Even if those connections aren't immediately obvious. That's incredibly helpful.
It can be a game changer.
But what about those intimidating job interviews? The guide mentions RoleCatcher has tools for that too.
They do. They have a vast database of potential interview questions curated for specific roles and industries, including, of course, geothermal engineering. But here's where the AI steps in again. You can actually record yourself answering these practice questions. And get personalized feedback on your performance.
You're telling me this AI analyzes my answers?
My body language? Maybe even my tone of voice.
It might sound a bit unnerving. But the feedback is designed to help you identify areas for improvement. And build confidence before you step into that real interview room.
It's like having a virtual interview coach in your pocket.
Exactly.
And speaking of those interview questions,
yes,
let's go back to the career guide for a moment.
Okay.
It highlights some common questions you might encounter during a geothermal engineering interview.
Right. One that often comes up is, can you walk us through a specific geothermal project you've worked on?
Okay.
Highlighting the challenges you faced and the solutions you implemented.
That's a classic interview question.
It is.
Designed to assess your problem-solving abilities and your ability to apply your knowledge to real-world scenarios.
Exactly. And then there's, how do you stay updated on the latest advancements and trends in geothermal technology and research?
That one speaks to your passion for the field.
Yeah. And your commitment to continuous learning.
Absolutely.
Both of which are essential in a rapidly evolving industry like geothermal.
It seems like the RoleCatcher platform, with its AI-powered tools and vast database of industry-specific information, could be incredibly valuable for anyone navigating the geothermal job market, whether they're just starting out or looking to advance their career.
Absolutely. It's like having a comprehensive career toolkit at your fingertips, providing guidance and support every step of the way. We've covered a lot of ground, you know, from the ins and outs of geothermal engineering to like the evolving job market. And even how AI is changing the game.
It's fascinating.
But before we wrap up, I'd love to like delve a bit into the future of geothermal itself. The guide briefly mentioned something called enhanced geothermal systems, or EGS.
Yes, EGS.
What is that all about?
So it's a really fascinating area of research and development with the potential to significantly expand the reach of geothermal energy. You see, traditional geothermal power plants rely on naturally occurring hydrothermal resources. These pockets of hot water and steam trapped beneath the Earth's surface. But EGS aims to go beyond those limitations.
So instead of just tapping into like these existing geothermal hotspots, we're talking about creating our own.
In essence, yes.
Wow.
EGS involves drilling deep into the Earth's crust, often several kilometers down, where the rock is incredibly hot, but lacks those readily available fluids. Then cold water is injected into these like deep hot rocks, creating these artificial geothermal reservoirs.
So we're essentially engineering our own geothermal systems.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
That sounds incredibly ambitious.
It is ambitious, but that's what makes it so exciting. If successful, EGS could potentially unlock vast amounts of geothermal energy in areas that were previously considered unsuitable for those traditional geothermal power plants.
That could be a game changer.
It could.
Especially as the world seeks to transition away from fossil fuels.
Absolutely.
But the guide also hinted at some challenges with EGS. What are some of the hurdles that need to be overcome?
Well, one of the primary concerns is the potential for induced seismicity. Or earthquakes triggered by human activity. When you're injecting fluids into these deep rock formations, there's always a risk of like altering the stresses and strains within the Earth's crust, which could potentially trigger seismic events.
So it's about finding that delicate balance.
It is.
Between harnessing this incredible power of the Earth's heat, but then also ensuring that we're doing so safely and responsibly.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
Are there other challenges facing EGS?
Absolutely. Technical hurdles remain in terms of like drilling technologies and materials that can withstand those extreme temperatures and pressures found at those depths. And then there are economic considerations as well. EGS projects require these significant upfront investments, and more research is needed to optimize their efficiency and cost effectiveness.
It sounds like a field that is just ripe for innovation.
It really is.
With incredible potential, but also these significant challenges to overcome. Thinking about the future of geothermal, what other advancements or breakthroughs could like reshape this field?
Imagine harnessing the immense heat of volcanoes directly.
Wow.
Or tapping into the geothermal energy hidden beneath our oceans. These concepts might seem like science fiction today. But with continued research and technological advancements, who knows what the future holds?
It's a reminder that we're really just at the beginning.
I agree.
Of exploring the full potential of geothermal energy. And perhaps, just Perhaps one of our listeners will be at the forefront of these groundbreaking discoveries, shaping a future powered by the very heart of our planet.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive into geothermal energy.
It has been.
If you're intrigued by what you've heard today, remember that resources like RoleCatcher can provide like this invaluable guidance.
Absolutely.
As you explore a career in this exciting and evolving field.
They're a great resource.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to unearth the next big breakthrough in geothermal energy.
It could be you.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Yes.
Keep learning.
Keep diving deep.
And keep diving deep.